in a collective of 1,000 people or 1,500 people. Now the energy in the room's changing, now people are getting it, they're creating more coherence, they're starting to break through, and now give them the opportunity to demonstrate how powerful they really are, and you will be surprised on what you see. And it comes in any shape, any age, any sickness. I mean, you can't tell me you're too sick to do this work any longer. You can't tell me you're too old to do this work.
When is the documentary coming? That's what I want to know, Joe. When can we see and pull back the curtain?
Wow. Well, one of the things that I'm so proud of is we now have a testimonial booth at our week-long events because people have so many amazing, great stories. I mean, they're so good that now we have so much testimony that a lot of people are going to our website and just watching the stories of people tell their stories of how they healed of all of these health conditions and the doctors told them they weren't going to make it, or they created wealth or whatever. I think that's so important because when you see that person on the stage and they're telling their story and it's not a Hollywood version of triumph, they lost everything, they got worse, everybody gave up on them, they were in and out of the hospital, they tried this, they tried that, and all of a sudden they start telling their story and you see how they started to make the changes and they started feeling better and their blood values started to improve a little bit, and their blood values got worse, and then they went back again, and then they come out the other side. And it's a 64-year-old woman, with Parkinson's disease that can't swallow, that can't blink her eyes, that can't chew, that can't stand up, can't blow her nose. And in one incident, she's telling the story of how she's standing up in front of the audience, how she can blow her nose, chew, swallow, blink, all that stuff. You're looking at her going, wow, she doesn't look much different than me, or doesn't look very special, or she looks like a normal person. You're going to identify. And I look out in the audience when people stand on the stage and tell their story, and there's a lot of tears because they're speaking truth. They're the example of truth. They're possibility right in front of them, and that shift that takes place in that moment in the event is dramatic.
And it's because they see someone else do it or they feel them do it, and that has a cascade effect on everyone else.
Look, I was in Cancun. We had our week-long event in Cancun. There's a colleague of mine who's a PhD, MD researcher out of UC San Diego. Brilliant man. Came very doubtful. By that third day, when people were standing on the stage, he sat down with me at breakfast and he said, "It's time to do research. We're going to get funding from the NIH. We're going to work and we're going to demystify this process. I've seen it. I now know it. Let's do protein markers. Let's do brain scans. Let's build this model. Let's write the protocol." Now, why? Because we have a perfect petri dish. We have 1,000 people in Cancun, all eating at the same time, all waking up at the same time. There's a pattern. There's a closed environment, right? So you study the environment. You study what's taking place. And filling in those markers, getting a little bit more evidence to tell the story, both scientifically, as I said at the beginning, as well as testimony. That evidence becomes the loudest voice because we're seeing, oh my God, there are epigenetic changes. Oh my God, there's immune regulation. Oh, there's protein markers that are happening. There's changes in neurotransmitters. There's electromagnetic changes. There's more heart coherence. There's more brain coherence. Yeah, and look, there's a person with stage 4 cancer telling her story right in front of the audience that had serious cancer all throughout her body. There's nothing there now. Nothing. Or blind people seeing. I mean, you can't just throw that out any longer.
How long do you think you need to put the proof together to where now everybody can look at it and say, this is true? I
don't know. I mean, we have so much documentation. Bond University out of the Gold Coast in Australia, they've just analyzed thousands of my brain scans, and they want to write a paper there because they're seeing, like they've never seen a community of people be able to change their brain waves so quickly and to sustain those kind of changes. So, we're measuring those type of changes both scientifically, and we're doing extensive questionnaires to be able to get information. Well, our latest results from, I think it was our last event in Portland, our week-long event, 80% of the people had some type of change in their health, mild, moderate, or complete and significant. And the complete and significant now is up above 30%, which is not a bad statistic. So we're always trying to retell the story. The cool part about it is we're getting a lot of referrals now from physicians all over the world. I mean, people come, my oncologist told me to come, my oncologist told me to come.
Is that weird for you?
Oh, it's so weird
when
for me.
mainstream doctors are referring people to you?
Yeah.
So I had one of my students in the academy, London Real Academy, and I had her in that chair after the course. She took my Business Accelerator course, and she was suffering from depression. Her daughter had committed suicide. She was drinking a lot, and her doctor told her to watch your show on London Real, and that changed her life. It was crazy. She lives in Holland, and her doctor said, you should watch Joe Dispenza on London Real, and she did it, and she changed everything.
Well, I mean, that's why I do this. I mean, I do it for that exact reason. If you know, it's a challenge to do this and to interface with so many cultures and to run a company and, you know, do all these different things. And one of my greatest moments of my day is when I get the story, when a team leader sends me a testimony from somebody, and a person was depressed and suicidal and, you know, really ready to end their life, and all of a sudden they're a completely different person. They are completely different, or they're very sick and all of a sudden they're healthy, or they get the most amazing job opportunity and they're, you know, you can see the authenticity as a result of that. Now, why is that so significant? Not only is it significant for the people who are watching and observing it, but that person now, the feeling of that experience causes them to understand that the very feeling of their experience that they're having from a real life event, the emotion, the end product of that experience, that is an unbelievable humility and joy and gratitude and love for life and love for people. It's going to be easier for them to create that emotion for their next creation. And all of a sudden, the next creation is going to create even a greater emotion, even more love, and then here we go. They're going to be able to create even better because they're able to live in that emotional state a little bit longer. So we see then that people all of a sudden, as they begin to make these very significant changes, the side effect of all those changes is that they want less. Why? Because imagine there's so much coherence in your brain, so much wholeness in your brain, so much coherence in your heart, so much wholeness in your heart. You feel so whole that you no longer want anything, because how could you want when you're whole? You only want when you're in lack. And now when you're creating from wholeness instead of separation or duality, wow, the effect of that is that you only want to contribute to the world now. You only want to make a difference. You feel like your needs are met. You feel like there's not a whole lot of things that you want, that you feel so amazing. The only thing you want to do is give. You want to contribute, you want to make a difference. Now, we're back to the consciousness of how human beings are when they're a living organism, a species that are evolving as one organism, that is educated, that's informed, that's healing one another, that's shining for one another so others could shine, not to outshine them, but to show them how to shine. Now, all of a sudden, you have something very collaborative, you know, something very unique happening. And that's my hope during these times.
Which is kind of the opposite of this kind of tribalism we see where it's about what can I get, what do I look like, what does my post look like. The opposite of that is a wholeness, which means we're giving back to this oneness of the species.
Well, think about this. That's absolutely the right answer. Imagine understanding the science of creation. Now, as I said, it takes a lot of practice, takes a lot of information. We don't go for the whole enchilada. We teach people methodically, step by step, on how to build. On every day, they build a little bit more, they build a little bit more, they get a little bit better. Imagine that you do that to such a degree that you understand how to do it all the time. Now, you're not going to sit down to do the work and be like, oh God, I got to go create now. You're going to be pretty inspired to create. You're going to enjoy it. It's going to be something that you look forward to. And that's kind of the thing that I'm proud of when it comes to our community, because we're doers. And people do the work every day because they want the magic to be sustained. They want it to continue. And so it's no longer an obligation. It's no longer I need to do it to please God, to do the right thing, to be good, whatever people do it for. This is because they want to keep that kind of crazy world happening. And if you're in the belief system unconsciously that you're a body, local in space and time and three-dimensional reality, and you're trying to reach your goals and create your vision and do all this stuff, and you're a body, matter trying to change matter, then you have to drag your body through space every single day to get what you want, back and forth to work, whatever, and it's going to take you time to finally get your goals. That may take you a couple years. Well, that's because you have to think that I have to move my body to go get what I want. So then I got to compete. I got to force. I got to fight for it. I got to control it. I got to manipulate. I got to figure it out. Well, that's what you do with the limited resources when you're a body, local in space and time, trying to create something else, local in space and time. Well, if you're matter, trying to create matter, then you got to do stuff to make it happen.
And that's the way most of us were taught.
That's the way
brought up.
That's the way it's, get the skills, get all the different things. Well, now you got to lay down that very thing you used your whole life to get what you want and relearn another way to do it. So then,
and by the way, reacting to emotions is part of laying that down.
Exactly.
Someone does something against me, I get angry,
right.
I yell at them, that's how I get ahead.
Yeah, so now you're back to matter trying to change matter. And so now you're in that three-dimensional world and you can execute there and we can work it out, but it's going to take time. Well, when you start realizing where you place your attention is where you place your energy, and the stronger the emotion you feel when you get angry, the more you're going to pay attention to that person. You're giving your power to that person. You're giving your life force to that person because that's where your attention is. Well, when you learn how to lower the volume to that emotion, you take your attention off that person. You begin to break your energetic bond with that person. You call energy back to you. Now you have energy to heal. You're building your own electromagnetic field. Now, when you understand the science of creation and you understand it happens in the generous present moment, and you're practicing every single day on how to be present. You're not going to start creating until you know that you're beyond yourself and you're creating in the present moment. You know when you're there and when you're not. And you're creating by changing your energy. And you understand when there's a vibrational match between your energy and some potential in the quantum field, you no longer have to go anywhere to get it. You are the magnet. You're drawing the experience. You're collapsing time and space, or experiences are coming to you. You understand the science behind that. I guarantee you that you won't be rushing and competing to get anywhere. Everybody else will be rushing and competing. You'll be doing just the opposite. You'll just be in the present moment, changing your energy, understanding that there's a better way to do it. Now, this is where it gets
and
exciting.
Things will come to me.
Yeah,
well.
And all of a sudden you start figuring that out. So in traffic, you have two options. You can get frustrated or impatient, or you could be like, well, it was a good time to tune into my future. I'm gonna do it with my eyes open. I'm gonna fall in love with my future. I'm gonna open my heart. And the side effect of that is starting to see those changes. Every day you're drawing a little closer. Now here's the cool part. We hear stories like this. We have coherence healing groups. We have people that understand that if you can begin to change the patterns in the field, you can change matter. It's not matter that emits the field. It's the field that creates matter. If you change the field, you change matter. You don't change the tumor. You change the pattern in the field, and the hologram of the tumor changes. So we go an extensive understanding on this. And now we're doing these coherence healings, and we're seeing people have instantaneous changes in their health. I mean, instantaneous. And so now this group of people say, well, God, if I'm truly in the quantum field, there's no separation. I don't actually have to have the person in front of me that we're healing. I just need a picture or a coordinate, and my thought will connect me to them because there's no separation. I'm connected to everything in the unified field. The unified field, the invisible field of energy that connects everything material. If I get there, then I don't need to be in the presence of that person. So we have hundreds of people doing these coherence groups, these co-heal groups. And here's a lady that They do them at breakfast and lunch. They call them the Hallelujah Amens. And if there's a child that has leukemia or Hodgkin's, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, if there's someone who has a serious health condition, they work with 3 songs at breakfast. They do 1 person per song, so they do 3 people in the morning, and then they do 3 people at lunch. Well, lady's driving down the road, and she realizes it's time for the co-heal session. She pulls over on the side of the road in a neighborhood. She turns her music up. She gets right into it. Next thing you know, she gets a knock on the window, and it's a police officer. And the police officer asks her to roll the window down and says, what are you doing? You know, we're getting calls from the neighbors. They think, are you sick? Is something wrong? Is it an emergency? And more importantly, they're wondering, there's children around here, if you're safe. And she said, no. We do this coherence healing thing, and I was just tuning in to the people, and she's got the music blasting. And he leans over to look into the car, and when he leans over, he jumps back. And he looks at her and he said, what just happened? She said, what do you mean? He said, the pain in my back just went away. I don't have, he goes, I was in a lot of pain. I don't have any pain at all. And she said, oh, you were healed into wholeness with love. And she gave him the wink and rolled the window up and took off. And that's the side effect of what could happen in the change of energy. He had direct experience of it. She did nothing. He just entered a coherent field. So you start seeing these unusual things happening.
And you see it all the time. Yeah.
That they're becoming the new normal and having an effect. Like, that's how powerful you are. That's how powerful that lady is. She can't wipe the smile off her face, and the police officer's walking around going, oh, you're not gonna believe this. You know.
And most people wouldn't believe it because it's not in their reality.
Right, but now, but that's the point.
Is that's changing.
What's happening? Footprint in consciousness. Somebody heals from a health condition, MS, lays a footprint. Someone heals from a rare genetic disorder, footprint. Someone heals from a brain tumor, footprint. Someone heals from Graves' disease, footprint. Someone heals from Hashimoto's syndrome, footprint. Now you have these footprints in consciousness that are literally patterns in the field that are more readily available that people can access. At the same time, you have that 3-dimensional experience of the evidence sitting right in front of you. You see it right in front of you. That person's scans show that they're completely better. Now you have evidence in 3-dimensional reality. You have evidence in the field. There's a footprint there people can step into. Now, what happens is it becomes that collective 4-minute mile thing. Like, we're broken through the 4-minute mile. Now everybody's starting to do it. There's a change in consciousness. That's becoming what's making it so exciting, that people want to be a part of that. They want to be a part of that community.
I want to see this documentary, Joe.
Right? Well, they're working on it.
Imagine, right? Imagine.
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in